Module 2 of Chapter 14 will look at the first type of exotic options called Asian options, continuing the play on American and European, and this particular style of option is called Asian. The payoff of an Asian option is related in some way to an average of stock prices. And this is important because this implies that the value of the option is path dependent. And what that means is that if you go to exercise an Asian option at the end of a year, say it's a European Asian option and you're at expiry, you cannot know the exercise value of that option by only knowing the stock price at that time. You need to know the path of stock prices that have transpired since initiation, since time zero. So the value of the option, the exercise value, will reflect the path of prices. We have not seen this kind of option before, and so one imagines that it'll be somewhat more exotic to price. There are situations where Asian options are useful in hedging situations. One, and we'll see an example in a moment, is a business that's transacting, for example, currency trades or commodity trades or whatever over time, might be interested more in the average price than they are in the price at any particular time. It may be inconvenient or impractical to be setting up a hedge for every transaction if you're doing transactions weekly, and what might be more convenient if you had one option which automatically reflected average prices over a period, and then you would know on average your revenue stream or expense stream or whatever it was that you were hedging or transacting was in fact hedged. There are times when a single price might be subject to manipulation. For example, it's not uncommon when executives in companies are granted options, executive options on their company's stock, that the strike price for that option reflects stock prices over a period of a week or two. To make sure this also lessens the volatility of the value of that option award, but also eliminates or greatly reduces any potential for manipulation of stock prices, which might have an effect on the option prices, or which would have an effect on the option prices. And you also have the situation where, finally, price swings of stocks can be quite dramatic in relatively thinly traded securities. And for those kinds of securities, you might be more interested in an option on them that reflects an average price to eliminate some of that volatility. So here's another example than the ones I gave, and that might be a conversion option on a convertible bond. So you recall that a convertible bond is a bond which pays a coupon rate over some fixed term, but the holder of that bond has conversion rights, is able to submit that bond back to the company in return for a certain number of shares. And the question then becomes, what's the conversion price, the stock price in that conversion? And very often it might be over some holding period, like 20 days, and that's the price that it'll be converted at. Asian options are less valuable than vanilla options, and the reason is that the average stock price is less volatile, and we have seen that volatility is an important parameter in determining option value, namely that in general options get more valuable when volatility is greater. So if an Asian option is using somehow the average price of a stock, well, the average price will be less volatile, and consequently one would expect that an Asian option will be less costly. And that's a good thing, of course, for hedgers if an Asian option protects the risks they're interested in protecting. There are 8 kinds of Asian options. First of all, basically because there are 3 decisions to be made, and each one of those decisions has 2 outcomes. We can look at an Asian put or call. The averaging can be done arithmetically or geometrically. We'll see what that means in a moment, but you probably have an intuition. And then secondly, the question is, in the put or the call, is it the strike price that reflects the average of the stocks, or the execution price, the price that actually goes into the put against a fixed K, a fixed strike price? Is that reflecting averages? So we'll see now some examples. First of all, arithmetic and geometric. Arithmetic is just a simple average of prices. And so here the intuition is that we have time 0, time t. We break the period up into n, so n is equal to t, h is equal to t over n. And we average the stock prices starting at time h, 2h, 3h, and so forth. We don't typically bring in the stock price at time 0 because that's known. The geometric average looks at the product, the nth root of the product of prices, rather than the average